Ryan with Miss.Geek here, and today I'm going to show you my troubleshooting that I've been doing on the QCX Mini. And if you've been following my videos, you'll know that I'm having the problem that some others are having too, where it won't align. Changing any of the trim pots here, right there, has no effect on the alignment. Now, what I've got here is I went ahead and set up the alignment in the menus and then removed the top panels so that I can actually get to the ICs. And I'm going to show you what I found here and also show you what I've done so far. So what I found here is that on IC7, which is this guy right here, pins 1, 2, and 3 are the A, I think, A or B. They're half of the op amp. There we go. Get some light in here. They're half of the op amp. And sorry, I know this is not going to be like the best lighting or anything, and I'm holding this by hand, so it's kind of the shaky cam thing going on. I'm really sorry. But I noticed that pins 1 and 2 are, I'm sorry, pins 2 and 3 are the input, pin 1 is the output. And I noticed that, let's see, try to hold this and do it at the same time, that pin 3, let's see if I can get the, there it goes. You can kind of see, okay, there we go. Pin 3, I'm getting 18 millivolts. Okay. Pin 2, I'm getting 93 millivolts. That's the VPP in the top right corner. And pin 1, I'm getting a lot more, getting 133. Now, if I did the same thing on IC6, pins 2 and 3 are even. In the case of IC7, pin 3 is significantly lower. Now, looking at the schematic, you find that pin 3, in fact, let me pull up the schematic here. We'll do this the fancy way. You find that pin 3 on IC7 is right here. There we go. And that goes to capacitor 11, which is a 470 nanofarad 11, C11. And that's this guy right here. And so I used this to measure it. And the easy way to do that was to simply solder a couple of, well, these guys to the underside of the board at C11 and measure the capacitance that way. And that worked. It worked. It just didn't give me the measurements I expected. It gave me about 30 nanofarads, which is way low. I mean, it's supposed to be a 470 nanofarad device. So I thought, well, maybe measuring it in circuit is the problem. So I pulled it and I measured it again, and it was still 30 nanofarads. And so here's the little bugger right here. I did replace it with one that measured properly at 470 nanofarads, and I think it was actually closer to 500, but just what's a couple nanofarads between friends. And that did not solve the problem. So I'm going to be replacing IC7 because I believe that's where the problem is. Now, Hans has said that he does believe that there are some, the OPA 2277 op amps, which is IC6, 7, 8, and yeah, it's IC6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I don't believe there's a problem with 8, 9, and 10, and IC6, I don't think the problem's there either. I really think it's IC7 based on that observation I just showed you. And so what I've done is I've gone to arrow.com and ordered not OPA 2277s, but an equivalent that's much, much, much cheaper in the US, which is an NE5532. And Hans also has said that those will work fine. And so that's what I'm going to be doing now. And I'm not going to film it because I already filmed how I do my SMD repairs. And so you can watch that one if you want to see it. So I'm not going to run you through the tediousness of that. But I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. And when I come back, we're going to test it again. And we're going to test it, just fire it up and see if it aligns. So this is going to be probably a little while for me, but just a blink of an eye for you. So we'll see you in a minute. Alright, so I've got IC7 removed, and that literally took me about 30 seconds once I got it set up and got my soldering iron turned on and everything else. It literally took 30 seconds. All I did was I filled the areas to the side here, like here and here, with solder, warmed it up, and warmed them both up and they both warmed them both up at the same time. And because of the thermal mass of having all that solder on there, basically filling the whole side with solder, it just came right off. They stay molten long enough so that you can just move your soldering iron back and forth between them, and they pop right off. In fact, here's you can see how much solder I used. Anyway, that's IC7, and so we'll come back and I'll show you when it's replaced. Alright, so there is IC7 replaced. Yes, it's crooked. I could not get that thing on there straight, but I did check it under more magnification. In fact, I've got the magnifier that came off of my third hand, and I use that a lot. And it looks okay. There's no solder bridges, and all the solder connections are made. It's just this not completely on the pads on the lower side there. And you know what? Don't care. This is why hand says when you're doing SMD work by hand to use blue tack or whatever the American equivalent of that might be. So next, I'm gonna have to pick some of this stuff up. Just have it on hand. I'll look for some equivalent at the dollar store or something. But anyway, so it's on now. It's time for the acid test. Let's see if this thing will actually align. And I don't have my hopes up, by the way, because I'm not entirely sure this was the IC that was bad. So if this doesn't work, then what I'm going to end up doing is just replacing all of them until it starts working. Doing IC6 next, and then 8, and then 9, and finally 10. Although I can't imagine this will be a problem with IC10 because it's past that chain. So let's give it a try here. Get the power supply and get my dummy load here. Got my dummy load, got the power supply, and got my dollar store headphones. Yes, I like the dollar store, okay? I like to hate on it, but it's also pretty cool. Alright, let's go to alignment. Okay, we're hearing tone. That's good. Alright, let's try this. Okay, let's get it down to about 5 or 7 or something lower. I don't think this fixed it already because the volume control is extremely sensitive. And that was one of the original problems. So I'm trying to do this. Yeah, not looking good here. Let's try some of the other alignments here. Kind of seems like it's working. It is. That is working. Let's get this phase low. It is working. Oh my god. I am so happy right now. You have no idea. Okay, so phase low is at there. That's on 6. Let's go to phase high. Doing this through my phone, through an amplifier, or through a magnifier, is actually harder than it looks. I can't actually see my radio. I mean, just let's see here. There we go. All right, so here's the phase high. That's increasing. Let's go the other way. Maybe a screwdriver came out there. And it's going down. Okay, it nulled out there. All right, so I'm going to turn off the camera. We know it's working. I'm going to go finish the alignment and come back. All right, we're back, and we have a working radio. Yes. So let's just quick recap. Going to try to keep this short. Troubleshooting process. Follow it. It works. That's what I did here. And, you know, I traced literally everything on the circuit board that I could find except for the PA. I haven't even touched that yet. And then also checked values on all the resistors. You know, made sure there was no shorts. Made sure that everything, you know, there was continuity everywhere there ought to be continuity, and there wasn't continuity where there shouldn't be. And that didn't solve it. So then I stepped it up with that little DSL 150 and really found the problem. Even though that DSL 150 won't let me check the phases themselves, it will. It did let me check the amplitude of the signals, and that's where the problem was. So I don't know what the failure in IC7 was, but it doesn't matter because replacing it worked. So the NE5532, I got them for about 65 or 70 cents each on arrow.com. I ordered them Thursday. Today is Sunday. They showed up on a Sunday. And it took a few minutes to replace. So now it wasn't the most convenient part of the board on the edge there. So if you have one that needs replacing on another part of the board, it'll be a little less convenient, but it still will go just fine. So believe me, if I can if I can do it with the methods I have, you can do it. So don't be alarmed, and don't be hesitant to buy a QCX Mini. Hans has already identified that there are some DOA op amps, and he's going to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So he's actually building a test fixture, which is an engineering project all on its own. And it's a beautiful little radio. I can't wait to finish it. Next up, I've got to make sure I get 5 watts out of it, and I'll have some tips for that. And so stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and it works. Yay. I'm just really excited about that. Anyway, thanks for watching. It's 73. We'll see you next time.